All right. So welcome to day 5 of our 19 conversations. Today we have on the big show here, the big show.
The big show.
So somebody who has through this YouTube channel that we've been doing, somebody that's become a friend through that. Started with a simple comment on a video, one of the very first videos I think we put out, an early video, and through that and other live streams and Facebook Messenger and everything, we've gotten to know. So please welcome Mr. Brian Landreth. And I know there's a lot of people in this community that will recognize that name. So,
well, thanks for having me on. This was just a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this would be a blast. And
you figured you were gonna be joining in, commenting like you always do. We figured we might as well just put you on.
It's a lot easier than typing. I appreciate it.
That's right.
So in the chat, we already have. I wish I knew how. I have to ask my friend at work languages how to say your first name, but Z or Zay from Brazil. Yeah, our Tajima friend, joining us. And so it looks like there's a couple people watching. Maybe there's a few other people out there that will chime in and say hi to Brian.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you. Those Tajimas look nice. I kind of like them. They're different, but they look like they're really put together well.
The ones that we have, which would be the Taiwan or Korea or wherever it is that they're made, are nice. And then I hear, and I think I've touched one, the Brazilian made ones. Really nice stuff. And they have a Brazilian following. Those guys down there and gals that play them are really proud of them, and they should be. So
I think the music scene in Brazil is pretty strong. I think there's a lot of good music down there.
Yeah. That's something I haven't checked out, and probably maybe I can find some time soon. So Dan in New Jersey just popped in.
What's up, Dan?
Hey, Dan of New Jersey.
So we got some stuff going on here today. Brian's along for the ride, and I don't know, where do we start?
Well,
you can speak the letter E and Z like the letter A in Apple.
For his name. Ooh.
What was that?
You went
Sa?
How about I just call you Bud?
Yeah, that's what happened my freshman year of college, man. Anybody you pass, you didn't know, you're like, "What's up, bud?"
So is Za right? We'll see.
You have the decoder ring. Yeah, I don't know.
That's not coming up on my chat.
Za? I'm thinking. It's a thing because being a teacher, there's a lot of. I have a lot of students from different cultures and stuff, and I'm getting a lot of. 21 years ago when I started teaching, it was like Bill, Brian,
Johnny,
it's not so much like that anymore. And so, one of the things I always struggle with names, and I'm getting older and can't remember them and can't remember how to pronounce them. And it's something I'm pretty self-conscious about, actually, because I don't want to call people by the wrong name. So should we do the unboxing first, right off the get-go?
Let's do it.
Yeah, what do you got?
What do we
Let's
got?
do it because I'm not there. Like I said,
I have a red Swiss Army knife from my childhood. That's what I have. So we have
you always pull something good out of boxes. Yeah.
And it does have a customs label on it.
Oh, okay. Right now. Now I'm kind of getting to where you're going.
Wow.
It's seriously taped shut, right?
It is like they wrap the entire box in tape, and I can't tell where it would open.
Hopefully you have some Band-Aids in your desk drawer.
Maybe we'll do the unboxing later after I figure out how.
Maybe you just continue to do that, and by the time the time is expired, you'll have it.
I'm telling you, this is something. It's like one of those puzzle boxes you get. Like, you know how to open the puzzle box? That's what I feel like here.
I think based on our discussions, we'll let Brian play the game show. What type of pedal do you think it is?
I'm going to guess tremolo.
Oh, my gosh. Look at this guy. Give him a prize, Randy. Or Randy. What am I calling you, Randy? What is your name? Jason. I have no idea where that came from.
Yeah. Well, Randy owes you money.
Yeah, maybe. There we go.
So our friend from Brazil asked what our favorite guitar shape is.
Oh, Strat.
Brian's a Strat.
Yeah, I've been playing PRSs for so long now.
Oh,
Yeah.
They look like stickers, maybe. So there's 2 of those.
you got the good stuff there.
These pedal companies are finally getting used to the idea that there's 2 of us, and if they're going to send something, they have to send 2 identical things, or we'll fight. Walrus Audio almost destroyed the show by sending a black pick tin, and only one of them. That was almost a cap off the toothpaste. Yeah,
you know, everybody has really stepped up packaging this day and age. Everything always looks so nice. So there we go, packaging. Pop that off. You know, for those that care, little signature, nice booklet. Another sticker.
All right, one for Brian. One for each of us.
Little bag.
Yeah. Yep.
They sent you a bag?
And a little feet. Can you see this?
Okay.
They're cut out like.
Interesting shape.
Too bad. Yeah, and too bad you never use them.
Or the bag, but I like it. Ooh, looky.
Oh. That's like one of the. That's a really good one.
So Jason, wow, yeah, lots of that looks like a lot of homework.
So we got it in, we got it out, and we got a control, which I'm guessing is expression pedal. And then on the back it says 9 volt at 450 milliamps, 12 volt at 250 milliamps, and 18 volt at 180 milliamps. So we can switch that up. Got a classic, a sine wave, and a triangle wave on the front. A depth, speed, gain, and shape knob on the front. Interesting shape to it too. You know, not your typical just. Yeah, that's really nice.
Well, that's the same circuit that's in their amp. It's the tremolo in their amp.
Right, number 81.
And it's one of the best I've ever heard. That's that. You know, it's a harmonic trim, isn't it?
You know, I'm not sure. It says analog tremolo on it. I'm not sure if it's harmonic or not, but I know those guys over the pedal show were really raving about it. They really liked it.
But you know, I think that's the same circuit that's in Dan's amp, that Hampstead 22, whatever he's got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's definitely the tremolo circuit from the amp, which that's really cool.
So what I found interesting about you just read there, because we got used to the Leslie pedals having drive in there. You said one of the knobs was drive for that? Okay.
For a tremolo.
A little different on. I'm not sure we've seen a drive knob on a tremolo yet. So we'll see what that's about. And he said there's some interesting things with that circuit when he sent it to me that he wants to go over with me and talk to me about. Like, you know, before we recorded, he's like, you know, let's talk about it because there's some interesting things in that circuit that we should. So we'll see what that is. And when
a live stream with the pedal cam and the amp set up. How about that?
Could be.
You're gonna make him work, PJ.
So Daniel,
I'm full of good ideas.
Came in. So hey Dan. We had the favorite guitar shape. I think mine is kind of leaning towards that PRS too, but I don't know. Kind of leaning towards the the old double cut PRSs.
Yeah. That's where I land. I mean, I have a single cut, so, you know, and I don't dislike it. We talked about shapes that are familiar enough that your brain is like, ooh, I recognize that. I like that. But yeah, I think I've gotten so used to that double cut PRS that would be mine. But yeah, Brian.
I've got to be honest with you. You know why that I started liking Strat so much? Mm-hmm. Because where the jack plate is. Mm-hmm. Because I like to sit down and play on my couch a lot.
Okay.
And the jack plate on a Strat doesn't bind up, and you got everything else. And then it's just comfortable. And then I like the way it sounds. Mm-hmm. And they're easy to build, too. So that's another reason I like them.
Right. So, as I said, ask how quarantine is going for us here. Well, Dan said solid case on the tremolo. And I agree. It feels really – everything about that packaging and stuff is nice. So how's quarantine going for us? It's been in Brazil. It's been tedious as hell, according to him. Yeah, well, I think worldwide – that's probably kind of it. Now Brian's been out. Brian is participating in keeping everybody stocked in some regard. He's been out. You've been out driving, right?
Yes, I have. But even that way, I'm really not. I'm pretty isolated. I mean, I stay in my truck and I try not to see. You know, I don't see many people because everything I do is automated. So where I go, I don't see anybody. And when I unload, I really don't see. I see my supervisor about once a month.
So we just got another comment, Pat. I know you'll love this.
Okay.
The comment is, I think the Digitech Venturo Vibe has a drive. Not sure if that counts as a trem. And that's one pedal we didn't have in the Leslie series. But the comment was from our good friend David Barber over at Barber Electronics.
Oh, well, look at that guy.
Yeah.
That guy makes some nice pedals. David, I'm really like that. What was it called? The Game Changer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that is on my list. David, you'll be hearing from me just as soon as I get my Trump check.
New gear for everyone.
So, hey, why he's down here in the comments and still hopefully paying attention, David, if you have a cell phone or a cam on your computer, if you want to jump in on one of these, we're doing them every day. Probably not going to be well attended, but we'd love to talk to you. And if you want to jump in, let us know. Brian, he says thanks. Yeah, be careful, Brian, because the Barber Electronics direct drive is my favorite. I'm waiting to hear from Dave when those are done, because I want to get one of those. I know I owe him money for the Game Changer that we have sitting over here, and then we still have to do. He has the tone press, which he was the first guy to put that blend knob on a compressor, and we're going to try and get that one done too. Cool, man. Dave said he's in, so Dave, we'll figure out.
Well, I'll look forward to that because I enjoyed that interview
next week, pretty much.
That's right. That'd be great. Yeah, we were joking, Dave, on one of our other broadcasts or conversations that had you left other things there that night, like your personal direct drive, we would have made the excuse that we couldn't give it back to you because it was infected. But you wisely took it with you.
He said that he accepts Trump checks. Well, didn't you see
Good deal. I'll be talking to you soon, David.
Brian, you didn't see the meme going around, right? Like that Trump isn't sending money to guitar players because he knows how they'll spend it.
Oh yeah, I'm just about off. I can't hardly do Facebook anymore. I'm so tired of hearing about it. And I live out in the country, it's a small town. There's 120 people, so it's out in the country. And so I've been on. Like last night, I came home. I killed an armadillo. Day before last, I was wearing my long handles at work. It was cold. And this morning, I killed a cottonmouth out in the driveway. So, I mean, it's been...
Now listen, living where you live is just self-quarantine every day, so you have to go out and encounter those creatures.
I mean, all right, we've got to go look for people,
What do you live in Australia? I mean...
No, I live in Arkansas. It's actually a really good place for music because I grew up about halfway between Little Rock, Memphis, and Helena, Arkansas. Now, if you know about blues, of course, Helena, Arkansas is right there on Highway 61.
Right on.
And then you got Memphis, of course, And then Little Rock actually has pretty good music. So every tour that came through would go Memphis and Little Rock and then Dallas. So if it was really good, I would go see 3 shows. I saw Bob Seger at Memphis and Dallas, but he didn't come to Little Rock, I don't think.
All right. Well, Brian, I picked my musical guy here today for you. And being from Arkansas, okay. I think that you're going to know this person. Potentially know this person. He's passed away a few years ago. His father was the bass player for Sonny Boy Williamson II.
Okay.
He opened a juke joint at one point. His father opened a juke joint down in Arkansas. He ran the house band for that. Then became, I think, an auto mechanic and toured around for a little bit and then put out a CD. And the first CD he put out was amazing. Great CD. They used to tour a lot. And there was a little club here in Hanover, Pennsylvania that had a place called Clingers that would bring in national acts every Wednesday night. And so he would be there pretty frequently. He'd come through. And then for a while they had 2 locations and he would be at both of those locations. Tours with a keyboard player that plays a Hammond organ and literally brought this Hammond B3 and a Leslie speaker everywhere they went. So this little club in Hanover they played at, I played there a couple times and we had a 3-piece band and a singer. So we had 4 people. And we could hardly get in. And they would set up drummer, bass player, him, and the organ player with the Hammond and the Leslie. I don't know how they did it. I still to this day. But
a very strong person, then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and he's a little guy, but he's still around. He the organ player had played with I think has played a little bit with the Allman Brothers. Is connected to those guys a little bit through different people. He's been around. The drummer's name, I imagine he's still playing around. His name was Popcorn. Great.
I saw him at the theater.
Great drummer. So here, we'll get a little taste of this cat. Oh wait, I need to make sure I shared that right, because if it doesn't have, we got to get that volume thing going.
Is this just another ploy to get? He's building up the suspense here, isn't he?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and this is. I don't think this is a copyrighted video, so I don't think we have to worry about that. Let me just check the chat before we go. Okay, nothing new in the chat. Here we go. Michael Burks, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah.
There's Jones. Now, what I love down here in a little bit, he breaks it down.
That's Jason dancing in the front there, throwing his arms up and down, by the way.
But,
that's awesome. Yes.
Popcorn back here on the drums, when Michael breaks it down, he starts pretending he's clapping like a white guy. And I don't think we can leave this without watching. Let me see if I can find where this happened. But what I also love is how the band like kicks back into it, and Jonesy jumps on this organ. His name's Wayne Sharp on the organ.
There we go.
But man, Michael breaks it down nice.
Michael. Every time he comes to BB's, he does his white guy routine.
That's where I've seen him.
Like a white guy, Popcorn.
I resemble that remark.
Here, let's just get it where they get back into it. Just the way they brought this back in. Here we go. That guy right there, man. That's where my love of the Hammond organ comes from.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's Jonesy on that. His name's Wayne Sharp. He does have a band. I think it might be an Allman Brothers kind of tribute band, but I know like one of the last gigs they did, J-Mo was sitting in on the drums with it. So I mean, it's not your everyday Allman Brothers tribute band, right? If J-Mo's sitting in on the drums. So check out Michael Burks. You will not be disappointed. That guy can play.
Very good call.
That's about the 5th video you've sent me in the last, say, week that has flying bees in it. Are you?
Yeah, you know, I was looking for one and I saw it, so I clicked on it because of the flying bee. And
torturing yourself.
Yeah. I just can't. I couldn't. I'd love to have a V, but I couldn't make it look as cool as these guys.
The beard helps.
Well, you've got to stand up to play it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not going to be a comfortable one on your lap, is it?
No.
All right. So what happened to our boys in the chat?
They saw my picture.
Brian was on the show. They're like,
I'm going to take a screen capture of this and put it in the kitchen and get rid of those pesky rats we've been trying to deal with. Just put
It'll do it. And armadillos, too.
That's right. Watch out, rattlesnakes.
Well, I'm working on an album, and I'm calling it Ugly as Sin and Twice as Deadly.
Nice.
Did you want to talk about that, Pat?
Yeah, so the other thing, like we're kind of doing like maybe just things under the radar, but just things to check out while we're all looking for distraction or whatever. And I noted on so on Instagram, I think that Austin City Limits is providing their full-length concerts free. I think you could go out to YouTube and catch a song from one of the shows or an intro, but there are certain seasons for the full season. So this Gary Clark Jr. one is out there, and if you haven't heard of Gary Clark Jr., you should go check him out. But yeah, so you can go probably right to the PBS website or whatever, but you should be able to watch. That's like a 45-minute show, I think.
Yeah, it looks like it's 54 minutes on this concert.
Lots of great. I mean, think about it. Like, and I don't think it goes back through their entire archive, but Eric Johnson, Stevie Ray Vaughan, you name it, and they've played on Austin City Limits. So, and some other things too, like other genres, like the Raconteurs and other things that maybe I'm not totally hip on those genres. But you can see some really interesting things on PBS on Austin City Limits that maybe aren't your cup of tea, but they're always high quality. So. There's your daily distraction. Maybe that's what we'll call it, your daily distraction.
Okay, so
the Susan Tedeschi is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we mentioned that the other day. There was that Nugs TV or whatever it is played a old concert like a year ago of the Tedeschi Trucks Band. That band is that's a whole nother level. I mean,
right.
They're killing it.
I've been a fan of hers for years and years. In fact, probably in the 90s. In the late 90s, she was playing the casinos on the Mississippi River. And I saw her, and then I think she played the Helena Blues Festival one year. She's awesome. I just couldn't believe how good she is,
Yeah.
Another guy you need to check out is Alvin Youngblood Hart.
Yeah. I have some of his stuff, I think. Yeah,
he's a real nice guy. I got to kind of know him a little bit around Memphis. He's real quiet. He'll go in a guitar store, won't say anything. He'll pick up a little cheap guitar and just embarrass everybody in the store.
I usually just embarrass myself.
I'll tell you that it means something when these guys. Pat and I have talked about this numerous times. It means something when they're nice. And Michael Burks, that I was talking about earlier, they came through so much that they used to and I was there, right? So I'd be sitting there watching. They came through so much that in the end, they would sit down at the table during breaks and hang out and talk with you, sit down after the show and hang out and talk with you. So I got to know this guy's pretty good. It was a real sad day for me when he passed away. Because he was, of all the guys that came through, he was just one of my favorites. So.
He was. I had seen him a long time ago. I think it's something I can't remember. I think in Memphis somewhere.
Yeah, he's good. So, what do we want to get into? So, Brian, why not? Well, do you have right there behind your head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Send us a picture of that one. That blue one with the rosewood neck on it.
This one, yeah.
Dan of New Jersey said he's still here. By the way.
All right.
Oh, hey, Dan. Now, this was, see, it's all rosewood.
That looks nice.
I learned something on this guitar. This started life as a Fender Blacktop double humbucker. And I replaced every single part on it except the body. So I paid like $500 for a body. And so I said, why don't I just buy guitars? I'm just going to start buying parts and put them together. It's quicker, it's simpler, and I get what I want because nobody makes exactly what I want.
Right.
So I like the little little pearl tuning knobs.
Yeah, those are nice. I like the color of that.
Yeah, Sonic Blue. You was asking yesterday. That's what the color was.
Ooh, I said Sonic. I said Sonic or Daphne, so I was half right.
Those rosewood necks. I've only ever played one or two, but man, they have a really nice feel to them. They really do.
Well, it is, but that's a Warmoth neck, and they're what do they call their vintage C shape, their average typical neck. Just doesn't feel right. And I found a trick, and this is why I don't like finished necks. I just take sandpaper, put it in my hand, and I just shape the neck to my hand. You know, I just go keep working it out, work the shoulders off until I get it how I want it, you know? So then I go back and roll the edges. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it when you're done.
All right.
Now this guitar, I want to show you this guitar because I hadn't told you about it.
Show away.
Okay, now I didn't build this guitar. A friend of mine named Henry Ford built this guitar for me. Now I scalloped the neck, which is something I can see as controversial in some places, but it is amazing. It has you're talking about a guitar set up for gigging. This is the gigging guitar. These are lace sensors. They're called lace sensor chrome dome. They're a little warmer and they sound pretty good. And then I've got what is it called? It's not the Clapton boost. It's the
TVX.
It's an EMG boost is what it is.
Okay, gotcha.
So I've got a 25 decibel booster right there. So I can get out in a solo. And then I've got, the normal 5-way, plus I can get these 2 pickups, these 2, or all 3. And that all 3 is really good. And then I've got a Wilkerson tremolo bridge on it, and I use PRS screws. And if you want a tremolo to stay, this guitar stays in tune. This is one of the few tremolo. This is how you make a Strat stay in tune. This bridge, where it rests on the screws, have knife edges. And the PRS screws have got a little notch. And you get them in there and you get them straight. You got to get them straight. And when you do that and you don't use string trees, shoot, it'll stay in tune. It's really nice. And it's a 1-piece ash body. Yeah, my friend did a good job on this. I got to give him credit for that.
That's nice.
But the nice thing about the lace sensors is, and even though they're not my favorite pickups, they're quiet. So if you get on a stage, got fluorescent lights and all the noise, you don't have the hum. They're quiet. So I trade a little bit of sound live for just the utility, because you can't always have a noise gate with you when you go.
And that's kind of the same thing. We were talking to Brody yesterday, and he had his Eric Clapton Strat, and he was talking about the Fender lace sensor pickups and the and he said kind of the same thing, right? It's not the best pickups, but they'll And I actually think I had a pair of lace sensor pickups at one point in that green Strat that you like, Brian, with that teal green, the teal green tree.
Oh, that guitar, yeah. Now, what that guitar I just showed you, what it started off as, these 2 were supposed to be a set of twins, and that guitar originally had the tortoiseshell pickguard on it, and they looked just alike, but I had to do some stuff, and so I decided to go ahead and put white. I might put a white pick guard on this. This is a good playing telly too. He built this one too, and it's got Seymour Duncan antiquities in it, and a little trick on Telecasters. That Baja telly, that twisted telly pickup they make, that is the pickup you need in a telly, because it's kind of almost like between a Strat and a kind of a P90. It's hot. And it's really a good, I like it better than any telly pickup I've ever tried. Well, they give you some growl.
I have an old Mexican telly that I thought about putting new pickups in. Now I have this telly sitting here too. I do have a telly right next to me because I was playing that earlier. So
it's Fender Friday.
Yeah.
Now what is that? Oh, is that a mini?
That is a Seymour Duncan mini bucker. And so this is a 1952 hot rod telly. I think they call them a 52 hot rod. So that's stock Fender. It's built after like a 50s telly, but the only thing that's different is they threw that mini bucker up in there. Big, I mean, baseball bat kind of neck on it. It will hurt your hand after a while. Hey Brody, Brody just popped in. So Brody, that's the one I was telling you about yesterday. I don't think I got that out, but that's the 52 hot rod mini bucker. And I've had that guitar for a while and didn't play it a whole lot. Has the thin nitro finish on it and stuff. And the last couple months I've been taking it almost weekly to play. So
the only problem with this telly is it probably weighs 12 pounds. It's bad heavy, but it really sounds good. So it's a studio guitar.
Right. That one weighs a lot too.
But this is what I recorded all the slide on that video I did, or on the last song I did. It's really good for slide. But you're talking about the best pickups that you can get are in this guitar. This is my favorite guitar right here. It's just it's a Strat I put together, but it's got Lawler blackface. You can't touch them.
Oh,
they're the best Strat pickups I've ever played. And so if you want to get a guitar and make it sound like a Strat's supposed to sound, spend the money, get Lawlers.
Now, would you go with that Twisted Telly pickup over a Lawler Telly pickup, or?
Maybe so, just for that neck pickup, because actually what it is it sounds more like it sounds more like a Strat pickup. So that way, even with the Telly, you can throw it up there and get your Strat neck tone. Now, for pure Telly sound, I would go with the Lawler. You know, if I wanted a classic Telly sound, but you know, I love that Strat neck sound. That's just, you know, that's where I live. I could probably get by with a guitar with just that, you know.
We can relate to Brian. So one of
one of
the things I'm thinking here. So like, I mean, nobody will be surprised to learn that this isn't our day job for any of us, right? Like this, you know, music is a passion. It's something that we do. Brian, and I both, I think, probably. I know you go out to the blues jams and play sometimes. You have a band, you play on the weekends.
Yeah.
We're, you know, working. You know, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, everybody here right now goes out and plays in different situations and stuff. So Brian recorded, and I'm not going to play the whole thing, Brian, but you said about playing slide on that Telecaster, and I think I got it queued up right before that. Just one of those little turnarounds. I'm just going to play. How do I do that again? Oh wait, I might need to hold on. I apologize for my ineptitude.
Again, the whole intern thing. As soon as this
we need
social distancing stops, that intern will be in there tuning guitars and queuing up things.
All right, here we go. Just a couple seconds here. Baby, she got some crazy. I like those hits. So I'm not playing much more of that because that's on Brian's YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, check it out. It's the first studio recording I ever did.
Right. So tell the story about how that happened. I think that's a great story.
Okay, I go to a blues jam and I play with a man named George Scaife. All right, Butch Scaife. He was working in Nashville, recorded as a record engineer. He's in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. Just a really interesting, great musician. And he kind of hosts a blues jam. And he's got a studio. So I was playing it, and I went and played that song, and then people laugh because it's a joke song, but, you know, it makes people dance, makes people laugh. It's a hit, you know. So he liked it, and he said, hey, I want you to come to my studio and record it. So I went, and, man, let me tell you, I thought I could play until I got in a studio. Whoa, that's a whole new world because it shows every mistake, you know, and you got to live with it. So you got to get it perfect every time. But, you know, and he brought in this drummer named Steve Massingale. He is the best drummer I think I've ever worked with. I want to spend some more time working with him on some more songs because he actually made a mistake. We were doing the bass line, and I made a mistake the way I was doing the bass. And instead of, stopping it, he just adjusted the drum part. And that's where you get that little pa-boom, you know, that little thing where he hits the drums. That's just because I did the wrong thing on bass instead of, so he just went with it and made it good, you know. So that's like the thing. That's the key. Play with better musicians. They can always make you look better.
Right.
Well, and you know, if a producer brings in a drummer, they're good because the drums are one of the hardest things to capture. And so if he brought him in, there was a reason, and you found that out, right? So.
Yes, and but you know, a good drummer is just worth his weight in gold. Even you got to put up with drummers, but still, when they're working, they're good. You know.
Brad Miller.
I've had it.
So
hey, Brad.
Yeah, man, I played with a great rhythm section for many years, and the reason I was able to play for many years is that I had a great rhythm section because it's sort of
right.
You know, it's interesting when you said that he was in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame because when I listen to that when you sent that to us earlier today or last night or whatever time I got that, and then just listening to the vocals, I was thinking more of like a John Lennon type slapback, but that is complete rockabilly, right? With the reverb slapback he had on the guitars and on the vocals, totally rockabilly.
Oh yeah. And my vocals are, well, he had to do a lot of work. Okay, singing is not what I should do, but you know, the only reason I end up singing it most of the time is because I'm the only one who can remember all the words.
I use an iPad all the time. If I stray away from the chart, forget it. It lights out. I'm so lazy.
Let me give you a secret for learning lyrics. And people, you're a teacher, so you'll appreciate this, Jason. Write them down. Don't read them and try to learn them. Write them down. And write them till you can write that whole song without looking. And then you'll know that song forever. You will never forget those lyrics because what you write, you remember. You can remember everything you write, you can remember like 10 times better than what you've heard.
You know, the only thing that would have made that advice better, and we talked about this in the pre-interview, is if you'd have said, I'm fixing to tell you something.
Okay.
We're going to edit that in and go, I'm fixing to tell you something.
I'm
really
fixing
important.
to tell you something you need to know, okay?
That's
Had I known,
that's right.
I would have put in the description, Brian Landreth joins us and he's fixing to tell us something.
That's right. I love
Now
it.
be careful what you ask for because I can tell you a lot of things.
Ooh, look at the time.
Yeah.
So when did you start playing? Like, what? It sounds like you got a lot of blues influence, maybe some rock. But like, when did you?
I started playing, I guess, around 82, 83. It was early 83. It was January 83. I remember exactly because I was in the Army and I was in Germany, and it's like, I don't know, 50 below zero, cold, right? Too cold to go anywhere. And I'm sitting in a barracks. And Army life back then wasn't very hard. It was nice. I had a nice little break. So I went over and I bought a Strat, and an amp. And I said, I'm going to learn how to play it. Well, I thought, take me a couple of weeks and I'd have this thing. Well, 30 or 40 years later, I can almost make it sound like music, And you was talking a minute ago about having to work and, musicians that are passionate. I would have made it. I started playing, and when I got out of the Army, I guess in 87, something like that, then I'd kind of gotten where I could get through a song. And of course, I got some friends of mine together and we started playing. And luckily, one of my friends that we're playing with, his dad owned a club. So that gave us a place to start.
Mm-hmm.
That first night, somebody told us, and they were friends, she said, when we went back the second night, she goes, I really didn't think y'all would come back. It was so bad. But, you got to learn. You get up on stage and you just got to do it because you'll learn more in 2 hours on stage than you will in 2 weeks in your bedroom. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I mean, that's kind of where I learned to play.
And my advantage,
said,
my only really
down in the pentatonic scale, and other than that, everything else was the blues jam.
Oh, yeah. But now, and I was a rock and roll guy. I mean, I grew up. I remember when all this classic rock music, that you hear on classic rock stations. I remember when it was new, So it was weird because when I grew up on a farm, and I grew up listening to music on a tractor. I loved riding a tractor. I'd get on a tractor on Rock 103 out of Memphis and listen to good music. It was all coming out. I remember when Stevie Ray was new. We went and saw him. All that. And then I went off, and then here a few years ago, I helped a friend of mine drive a tractor for a couple of weeks. He was behind, and I went out and drove for him. I turned on the radio. It's the same songs. 30 years, I'm listening to the same songs. I know them so well. And they're good songs, but after the 1,000th time. But, it's old. And I hate that about kids because they don't really understand. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, back in my day. Well, Tuesday was when albums were released.
Yeah.
And every Tuesday there was a killer album. And you were looking forward to the new Zeppelin album, the new Boston album, the new AC/DC album, Bob Seger, all that was coming out and you were looking forward to it. And then a tour would come through, and you could go for $12 to see anybody you wanted. Life was good. And it was general admission. So you could get out on the floor and have a good time with your friends. Kids are missing something on music, but the key to what they're missing, and this is where kids really are missing out on music. They've got music broke down into so many little genres. Well, we had AM radio in Arkansas, the mighty 1090 KAAY. It went out at night. Everybody listened to it because Clyde Clifford had a show. It was a great show. But at any given hour, you could hear Marvin Gaye, Led Zeppelin. You could hear Hendrix. You could hear Frank Sinatra. You could hear any kind of Motown, Otis Redding, and then the pop stuff along with it. But I mean, you heard every kind of music. And so you didn't just hear this certain kind, this certain kind of metal or this certain kind of this or this certain kind of that. You heard all kinds of music, and then you could develop your own taste for what you like. And it would all kind of blend in. So I've got a wide variety of, I got a very wide variety of music. I go from Townes Van Sant to, to Andy, just anybody, so kids, I hate it that young people don't understand where we got this passion for music, because music was important back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Well, now it's very, there's algorithms that tell them what music is gonna. Well, I mean, in some ways, tell them what music's going to sell, and the music that sells is the music they push. I don't know, maybe it's circular thinking in some regards, but a lot of it doesn't even really seem to have a whole lot of instrumentation to it anymore, right? It's a beat and some MIDI things and whatever. What do you think of that new band? What's their name? The young guys. Sound like
Greta Van Fleet?
Yeah, Greta Van Fleet.
I like what they're doing. And I tell you, people say, oh, they're just a Zeppelin. I wish somebody said I sounded like Robert Plant.
Right.
I would be
there. Yes, I'm with you.
And they're rocking. I mean, they're kids and they're young, and I think they'll get better, as they go, because they're starting off from a good place. Let's have a band and let's play music as a band. Let's don't do our little part here and overdub it 9,000 times. Let's get a band in. Let's play some music, because that's what it's about. When the people think that, the audience hears the best music. No, the best place in the world is to be on stage playing with good musicians, and it's working. That's when the world is perfect right there.
Yeah, there's very
it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you said that, because you talk about what kids are missing. But, back when we were growing up, and we have maybe a 10-year gap up or down here, whatever we got going, but to be in a band was special, right? Like to be in a band, not everybody was in a band. You had to have the place to play, somebody with the gear, people that could mesh personalities. So like everybody's in a band now, and to record in a band was like really like special. You got to the people that actually got to record. Now you're like way up here.
Exactly.
So, and now it's like everybody's in a band and they can go get on their iPhone and just like bang something out and throw it on social media, which on one hand, great. You can be creative and you can throw your ideas out there, but just the whole concept of it's something special, like, is kind of missing.
But back then, if you were in a band, and I was broke, and look at me, I got girls.
Now he's getting somewhere. Now he's getting out of the nitty gritty, right?
But I'm fixing to tell you something else too that you need to know about playing live.
Yeah.
Because I learned this the hard way, but I had to learn to accept it. I'm not a great guitar player. I'm a good working class guitar player. But what I am is I'm a good entertainer. I can get on stage and I can read crowds, and I can play what crowds want, and I can clown and I can joke and I can work a crowd. And I learned that from them Southern Baptist preachers and them revival meetings back. There's an art to working a crowd.
Is that where your affinity for handling snakes came as well?
No. I don't like handling snakes. They're just here. It's either you kill them or they're going to kill you. And those cottonmouths are bad.
Yeah. Stay out of the water.
But it's not about how good you can play, because there's always that little 12-year-old kid at Guitar Center that can just scream, and you just want to kill a little rascal. Well, you don't have to play that good if you can put on a good show. And it's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I there's that. You've probably experienced this from what you're saying, right? You're on the stage at the Blues Jam with the guy that technically can play you under the table 10 ways. I mean, technically knows every scale, knows every note, knows every run, can sweep arpeggios or whatever. Like, just is theoretically an incredible player. But that doesn't mean that they're going to steal the show. Like, if they want to go head cut with some of these other guys, they can get put in their place really quick by somebody that can't play half of what they can play. Just because it's the audience. The audience doesn't know what a sweep arpeggio is with alternate picking. They know it sounds good. Like they know what moves them.
Well, just like what you're saying, you take that guy that can do all that, right? And then let Chuck Berry walk on stage. Chuck Berry's going to blow him away. And Chuck Berry was not a great player, but he could play a guitar. Technically,
right, yeah.
Chuck Berry licks are easy, but crowds like Chuck Berry licks. Don't ever forget that. If you don't know what else to do, play Chuck Berry. It always works.
I think my duck walking days are over, though, so I might have to.
Yeah, but that's the point. It's the one note. It's the one note thing.
Yeah, right.
One of my favorite moments ever was a guy that used to intimidate me all the time on stage. Just like I was afraid to play with him because he would look at you, smile, and it would be like, game on. We're going to do some head cutting here. And he did that to me one time and just totally played this solo that was crazy. So I did the buddy guy one note, right? Grab the note, bend it up, hold it for 4 bars into a feedback. When I finally let that note go, the crowd went wild. I looked at him and winked. I just couldn't but that's I mean, everybody can participate in music. I
guess fun. That was the whole point of punk, I think, wasn't it?
I thought the whole point of punk was to birth the police.
Well, yeah, but you got to give them credit. They got up on stage and had fun or got mad or whatever made them happy. Because when I was in Germany, the punk movement was really big.
Right.
Well, when I was in the Army, 20-year-old soldiers and punk people just didn't get along. So the MPs got called a lot. But Chuck Berry was probably the greatest showman I ever saw live. Now, that was a show, and it was funny because the band had no idea what he was going to play. We literally watched the bass player had to tell everybody else what key it was in after he got started. But Chuck could put on a show, and that was like probably 70,000 people there at Memphis in May one time.
That's those old blues guys, man. They used to do that. They walk out, pick their guitar up, and they're going to start playing, and the band better be able to figure out what he's doing and figure it out quick. They used to do that to me at the Blues Jam all the time. Like, they just start playing, and you better figure out that key.
Well, Blues Jams get very brutal, man.
Brian, to your point, you were talking about, you learned maybe how to work a crowd through, like, maybe revival preachers. I have had the privilege of playing in some African-American churches with some friends of mine. And it's the same thing, man. One of them gets going and the other one calls out what key it's in. And it's like, hang on, because you're going to try to follow along. And it's that passion and that stuff that just comes out of them in those situations, right? Like whether it be, a Baptist preacher or a blues musician. It's like people, it goes back to what Jason was saying. I think people can resonate with something that's kind of authentic or it's really true or passionate coming out of somebody.
That's a good point, Pat. I've noticed and y'all know this too. I've seen people that really aren't very good, but they're giving it 100%. I mean, they're sweating and they're going all out. They're going for it. That'll win a crowd over somebody that's real good and just kind of half stepping through there. Just I'm bored. We're here in this little club. We're kind of embarrassed. We're gonna play. Now you get a guy that's glad to be there and putting on a show. I'll watch it. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care if he's juggling. If he's putting on a show, I'll watch it.
Maybe we get a juggler.
You was talking about black churches. There was a drummer that I played with right before all this started, and I just met him. He came up and played with us, and he was great. And we were doing blues, and he was, really, really good. I was enjoying it. And then some other guys got up, and for some reason, they let him play a country song, which I like country, but it was odd. And this drummer, when they started playing country, he just looked like he was like what? and then he managed it. He pulled it off. He did a good job. And I asked him, I said, I saw you just look confused for a minute when they started doing it. And he goes, well, I'd never played country. I said, but it's just like church music. So I just played church music behind it. They were happy. So
Brody's back down here. Said, hey, gang. He's
hey, Brody, I watched the replay of yesterday, Brody. I always enjoy anytime you're on. You've got a marvelous collection. I just
Brad Miller.
He actually has talent. That's interesting. See, I don't have any.
Yeah, sometimes you get the collection or you get the talent. With him, you get it both. And he's a songwriter too and a singer. And he played the keys one day and blew my mind. I'm like, what just happened here? Liberace showed up. I had no idea he could even play. But,
wow.
Yeah, Brad Miller commented down there that he agreed with you on something you were saying a couple minutes ago. So we still, I mean, there's like 6 people watching the chat, or 6 people watching on. It looks like on YouTube. 6 people chiming in on YouTube.
My chat's not working, so I can't see.
But yeah.
Now, I can't read my chat, but I want to ask. I'd like to ask Brody a question, but you'll have to relay his answer back to me if he's still there. Tell me that song, right? What do you do when you have half of a really good song and you just don't have anywhere else to go? Do you put it down and hope that inspiration comes back to you, or do you just grind it out? What do you do?
So we'll give Brody.
I'll be curious to see his answer. I was in a band with Brody for about 17 years, and he was the principal songwriter.
So Brad
I've only
Miller
probably ever written like 5 songs. Go ahead. No.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brad. It's so hard not to. Brad Miller said the energy would. He was talking about the energy. He'd rather see the energy than a bored artist. You know, somebody that's putting their time. We were talking about people putting their time in and how that translates. Brody said, "Put it down at first. Don't force it."
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you know, Brody, over the years, I'm speaking for him, but like I said, I was in a band. There were times that like maybe I'd put 15% of a song in, or he'd bring something that was mostly done, and maybe I did something with a bridge or changed a chord voicing or just something. And then he was in a band with another really good friend of his, Chris. So I think he can envision a song in his head from soup to nuts and know exactly what he wants to hear. And others, you know, he'll collaborate with people that maybe he trusts or, you know, kind of want to keep things in the idea that he has. Because I've always, having only written a handful of songs, I have respect for someone who can hear exactly what they want.
Oh,
right?
Gosh, yes.
I like that. And if you get the right people that can deliver that and they're going to play a part, that's great. You know, a lot of times for me, it's like, I'm going to bring in the people that I want to bring in because I want their influence and their flavor to be in it. Like, you know, so it's all over the map, right? Like for songwriting.
I guess there really isn't any rules to it, is it? Just
not unless you're
when you're done, you hope it's a good one.
That's right. And
I'm real good at writing bad songs, you know.
There's a song in itself right there.
Yeah, I guess.
I killed a rattlesnake today.
Hey,
armadillos don't come my way.
Oh no!
Uh-oh. Landreth down. I think it's that Cottonmouth coming back for revenge.
Here we go.
An armadillo.
I just saw an armadillo drive a pickup truck through your studio.
I hit my cord.
So Brody says,
"There we go."
All right. Brody says, "Pick it up again." So it said, "Put it down at first, don't force it. Then pick it up again. And if you can't finish it, use the same verse as a placeholder, but get with someone you trust who can serve the song with you."
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's important. Serve the song's important because I was in a band with Brody and I was in a band with another songwriter that, again, I respect the fact that they had an idea of where it wanted to go. But if you get too many chefs in the kitchen and you're pretty passionate about where you want the song to go, that can be a disaster and that can cause friction and tension and stuff that just, for something that's a songwriting thing, you know, kind of keep it where you want to keep it and bring in the people that you trust. Because if not, it's going to lose its joy and its spark. And so
what messed this song up was I wrote it. Go ahead.
So we did it that way with the band that I was in for a long time. We recorded 2 CDs, and a lot of the songs came from somebody coming with an idea, some lyrics, whatever. But the final product, after the band got it, and not that any of them are like, good songs, maybe, but the final product always came out as being something that was kind of driven by the whole band, not just, one person. But
well, where I got stuck on this song is I actually wrote it as a slow blues song. And then it didn't work because it just didn't work. And it turned into a fast song. Well, I had enough lyrics for 2 verses for a slow song. But when it went faster, it took all my lyrics just to do one verse. So I got to come up with a whole verse, but my whole idea is complete in the first verse. So I don't know. Maybe it's just not a good song. I might just punt and start over.
Well, I know Brody. He would have like sketch pads or whatever. I'm talking all for Brody, but I mean, he can type himself as well. But just, a book full of lyrics and maybe some chord sketches and stuff. And I'll have to go back and find it. My friend Sal, who we interviewed, talked about writing songs. I think what he would do, he kept a book, and this might not be exactly right. He kept a book of songs that he liked, and some of them were huge hits. And he kept on a piece of paper the things that he liked about those songs. What did I like about it? They put a different chord in here, or I like the beat or whatever. So he had kind of like an encyclopedia of all of these little songs that he loved. He wrote down what he liked about them, and then he could go back and look at those ideas and translate it into something that he was trying to work on. Like, it was interesting.
I just read what Brody said, and he's right, But again, you're talking to somebody like Brody who has talent. I'm just a hack.
No, hack is a hack. Guitar hack is a hack.
Well, yeah, okay.
He has intellectual property on it. You don't have to
right? Yeah, he inserts that. Maybe that idea is meant to be a song. Little tidbits of things can be effective just for you. You may even give to someone who needs to finish a song one day. So he's okay. You have that little nugget there and you let it float and maybe you give it to somebody else, or maybe it becomes inspiration or fits into another song someday. Maybe that becomes a bridge to another tune or something.
That's more me. So that what you just said would be the 10 or maybe 15% of a collaboration with Brody. I'd have something that I had been holding on to and maybe it fit in a song, or I would bring that 15% and he'd put the 85 around it. But yeah, you hold on to it if you like it. And you don't want to waste a good hook, right? Like if you have a really good hook and you feel passionate about it, don't feel like you got to let that cat out of the bag. Like hang on to it until it's what you want it to be. If you're not in a situation where you're making a living on writing songs, but
yeah. But I think I like the music that I've written better than the lyrics. I'm just trying to find lyrics to fit this
lyrics.
But the first part I got is good, and so the second part. But I tell you what, I'll tell you how I write songs. I'll record the music on my phone. Mm-hmm. When I'm going down the road, I start singing, and I'll just sing and I just sing words just phonetically just to get the they don't even have to make sense. And then eventually they'll start sometime. Well, no, I think that's how you write a bad song. Okay. Listen to Brody.
I don't know if you see what I put up on the screen there. He said, keep in mind, I've never written a hit song, so consider the source.
Well, and that's something that I have noticed. Have you ever noticed that people that write songs think every song they write is great? And you realize how rare a really great song is? I mean, even people that know what they're doing can only write a few, other than like Willie Nelson, but,
or Paul Simon.
Some people, I mean, it's really, really hard to write a great song. I mean, that is a rare thing.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing the other day, Paul Simon playing one of his songs, just him in an acoustic, standing in his house on an iPhone, just sharing something out for people to whatever. But you talk about a guy that can write a good song, man. Paul Simon.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think he's probably, I would consider him an American treasure. Yeah, for the stuff he's done.
And now I like Townes Van Sant. Have you ever listened to much of him?
Mm-mm.
He wrote Poncho and Lefty, and he was an eccentric singer-songwriter that lived in Texas and Nashville. Some great story, but really, really great songs. He wrote, like I said, Poncho and Lefty, and you need to look him up. Check him out sometime.
Do that. And yeah. Oh, and then there's Neil Young too, but I think Neil Young writes.
But again, we were talking about good songwriters. Chuck Berry, probably one of the best there ever was, because writing a good rock and roll song is even harder. And he had such economy of words. He could be so descriptive with such a few words. Like Bruce Springsteen was talking about in was it Nadine? He said a coffee-colored Cadillac. Who's ever seen a coffee-colored Cadillac? But you know exactly what it would look like if you saw it. Now, that's how you write a good song,
Well, Brody's would be a black Cadillac, and mine would be like light tan. By the time I put enough creamer and sugar in me, but Brody's would be a jet black Cadillac.
Brody threw out a good point. He said so many of the great songs were not considered great by the writers. If you think about it, a lot of the number one hits that people didn't want to put them on the albums, or like they didn't think they were one of their better tunes, and they turned out to be. Brody said he loves Poncho and Lefty.
Oh, that's a great song.
Yeah, I knew that Brian was Spreckensy Brody on some of that stuff. Brody's got a pretty diverse musical background and influences from country to blues to R&B, rock.
And it's funny when I'm a blues fan. I grew up in a little town. We farmed, and right next to us was a community. It's actually been in a little plantation village. It was mostly African Americans, and they had 5 juke joints, and they had the big name acts would come in, and I mean they were right like just down the street, and I mean I got to see Albert King, BB King, all the names. Just in a little club. Now I wasn't supposed to be there, I was like doing the thing, but then the thing is that country music and blues and rock and roll, it's kind of blended, and I really have a hard time when I go to a blues jam and I'm trying to think, well, what I want to play. I can think of every country song that I want to do, right? And if I go to some place where it's country, then I want to play blues. I could, but but now what they call country now, I didn't want to talk about. Okay, it's all. But Hank Williams really was a blues singer. If you look at his song and break them down, they're blues songs. They're not country songs.
Well, and that whole, like even gospel, like I love, gospel like that led in like Blind Boys of Alabama and those guys, that kind of stuff. And so the gospel led, to blues and jazz, and then that led, it's all just kind of a melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
The good
gospel
band,
music,
like
gospel music to me was written by Fannie J. Crosby. You have to go back. She was like 100 years ago. She wrote all those classic gospel songs. She probably wrote 50 of them that you've heard.
I'm sure.
But I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, a little small, actually a missionary Baptist church. The difference in missionary Baptist church and Southern Baptist is the Southern Baptist will speak at the liquor store.
The other ones kind of don't make eye contact and just keep moving.
No, they just pretend like they didn't see you.
Right.
My dad was a deacon, and he was like an older deacon, and he was like, his job is to train new preachers. So we'd get like new preachers out of the seminary. And so I can make fun of it because I was there. I was part of it. I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying, but there's some funny things that happen, that you can make fun of. If you can't make fun of where you came from, and when it's funny, you got to admit it's funny,
I can see part of Brody's comment. What's it saying there about Jackson Browne?
It says best songwriter story. Jackson Browne couldn't finish "Take It Easy." Finally finished it when Glenn Fry gave him the line, "It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford, slowing down to take a look at me."
Wow, I did not know that. That's a good. Thanks, Brody.
And Brian Miller says that, oh my gosh, Brian is a hoot.
This is great.
We knew this was going to be fun. We've been watching Brian's comments and other people.
Yeah, and on the comments, I lose a lot because I'm too slow at typing. So by the time I get what I was going to say, the subject's changed, and I just end up not sending it. So.
Well, I have a feeling. I mean, I'm just going to make a little prediction here. We're going to see Brian on some of these other live shows and live streams that he's been attending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we've popped the cork on that, I guess. Like somebody, we'll see you again, I'm sure.
Well, I hope so. I hope somebody sees me tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I don't get this flu, the key to life is just breathing in and out. Don't quit doing that, and you're okay.
Told you some good old Southern advice, or advice, probably, I guess more appropriately. I have to say this. I know we're probably getting close to wrapping up, but it was so funny when you were talking about, being out on a tractor and listening to this AM radio. The first thing I thought about was me in Northern Virginia, in our house in Fairfax, mowing our grass with an electric lawnmower, listening to a Walkman, probably listening to pop music from the 80s. That's why my love for Zeppelin and Hendrix and everything came later. because I was all about that polished guitar sound. I loved like Steve Lukather and Dan Huff and Landau, all of the, studio cats, and kind of got into the Hendrix, Zeppelin stuff, second time around for me at least. But probably had my polo shirt popped while I was mowing the grass.
Dan, I only know one New Jersey joke. You say you're from New Jersey? What exit? He'll get that. I spent more time in this. I went to basic at Fort Dix, so I had a really good time at Asbury Park. I saw Warren Zevon at the Stone Pony when I was in basic training. Exit 80. I know where it's at.
Well, isn't that the same place Springsteen played a lot? Right?
Yeah, it was his. Yeah, that was. But
yeah.
But I'd much rather say Warren Zevon than I would Springsteen. I'm sorry.
Although Springsteen, like the interesting story about Springsteen as a guitarist, he became known as the fastest guitarist in that area. Like he was, whatever his version of shredding was before he got into all of that songwriting, he was really focused on playing guitar. I'm not a giant Springsteen fan, and maybe people are going to flame me for that. I'm just not. I don't dislike him, but an amazing band, But
it was I was excited about that club because that was just one of those things I just stumbled into, and that was a really good show. Warren Zevon was great. You're talking about a good songwriter,
You've seen quite the cast of players. It's amazing.
Because he wrote the best phonetic singing line in any song that's ever been written. Little old lady got muted late last night. That is a tongue twister, but when it rolls out there, I love that way. Now it's kind of morbid. I understand you don't want to go killing little old ladies, but just to sing, it is fun to sing that line. It works. Lawyers, guns, and money. Yes. Trust me. That's if I had a song. I'll tell you one thing. If they ever made a movie about me, the movie would suck, but the soundtrack would be great.
But here's the most important question: who would play you? Who would be the actor that would be you in your story?
Crocodile. Yeah.
Crocodile. No, I don't know who would, because I don't know who'd take that job.
How about Billy Bob Thornton?
Who's the guy from Australia that did all the animal stuff?
Steve Irwin.
That's who I was thinking.
No, he's a little bit too wound up for me. I really don't move that fast. And plus, I just don't go poking animals. I shoot them. I don't like to put that close.
You were social distancing before social distancing was cool.
Well, yeah. But so, I grew up, it's the rice and duck capital of the world. So I grew up as a duck guide. I was a professional guide when I was 13 years old. And I wish I could make that much money again. Good life. I made more money when I was a kid than I've ever made in my life. And that's fun to do. So I grew up hunting, I grew up fishing, but then I also just like rock and roll. My first record, not my first album, I'm talking about back when I got a record, a 45. Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. Good golly, Miss Molly, and Devil End Up with a Blue Dress. I mean, that was everybody else is singing Little Bunny Foo Foo, and I'm going, good golly, Miss Molly.
You know what? I think we just, and don't take this offensively, I think we just found our Uncle Si.
There you go. There's who would play me right there, yeah.
You drink tea out of a plastic cup?
No, I drink Mountain Dew.
Okay, all right. Mountain Dew.
I had to give up booze a long time ago, but I got my Mountain. How does this turn? Damn, this is confusing. There we go.
There you go.
Now, I drink about 12 of these a day. I know that's why I'm so healthy.
More Southern advice.
Well, I hesitate to bring this to a close.
I know.
About an hour and 8 minutes. We were planning on these being an hour, but it has been.
It's a bonus track.
It's been a pleasure, man, to have you on the show. We've really enjoyed getting to know you over the last year that we've been doing the show and talking to you in the comments and through Instant Messenger and all that good stuff. I'll say this before we go. Like when we first started doing this, it was kind of a joke in some regard. I mean, it never was a joke, but I mean, there was seriousness and strategy behind it. but it wasn't like something that we really thought would turn into anything other than us just hanging out playing gear.
Right.
And you right away, right from the beginning, man, you've been so supportive of the channel, and I think like we can't thank you enough for that. Just because I mean, it's like a confidence building thing for people. Like, oh, there is somebody that enjoys it. All right, so we got one.
But can I say something about that, Jason? Because I'm going to answer that. When I watched your channel and it was love pedals, I was looking up love pedal demos, and y'all were doing a lot of love pedals. And I commented on something, and you came back, and then I got to watching, and I said, I like these guys. You know, they seem like really good guys, and they're the kind of people that I like. You know, and then so it got to be not so much about the pedals and stuff. It's just as people, I said, I like these guys, and I want to watch these guys, and I want to support these guys because y'all do a good job because you're honest about it. You're sincere. You say what you like, what you don't like, you know. Sometimes you say a little nicer than I would, but you know. But you know, and then but you responded to me, and so we interacted, so we became friends. Okay, but I've never been to your house, but I consider you just as good a friend as anybody I've got.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's really that was kind of one of the things Pat and I talked about. You know, like let's. And I don't think maybe even it's happening in the way that we envisioned it, or we even planned. Or maybe we didn't even plan for it, but there's been relationships, friendships that have been built out of doing this that are fun. Mm-hmm. And you know, you get to a point in your life, I'm not going to the blues jam every Thursday night anymore. I'm not hanging out at my buddy's house jamming in the basement a couple nights a week anymore. So that to start getting a group of people to talk about this stuff with has been a real joy.
Yeah, you're not at the guitar shop for 3 hours on a Saturday morning,
right?
You know, it's like
or 4 guitar shops for 4 hours on a Saturday, which is what it used to be, right?
Yeah.
So
I used to like what was so funny. I guess you always become your parents, right? I remember when I was 17, I could work 12 hours. I mean, hard. Like Daddy worked me hard on a farm, right? And I would be like, oh man, I can't wait till I get off. I'm gonna go to bed. And as soon as I'd get out of that shower, boom, I was headed to town. And I'd get home about 2:30, sleep about 3 hours, be up at 5, and do it all over again. And I just thought, man, y'all are so boring, right? Now, it's any good day is a day I don't have to go anywhere. You know, if I can just stay home and watch TV and play my guitar, man, that's a hit. If I've got to actually get up and put on pants and go somewhere, I'm like, oh, no.
Well, if you go to Walmart,
I have pants on, though. See, I do. I am not Quentin James, okay? I wear pants.
Jason's spidey senses about wrapping this up. We're pretty right on. What if you weren't wearing pants?
No. If we weren't wearing pants, it would really get harsh real quick. It would be a harsh turn. We don't want to go there.
Right.
Oh, man.
All
I can't add anything to it.
It has been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, I suspect we will talk again in a format like this. We have, and I don't know to end this. I don't know if we're doing this Saturday and Sunday. We'll have to talk about that. I mean, we might.
We'll find out tomorrow, won't we?
I mean, I guess we were kind of thinking Monday through Friday at first, but you know, like we're all sitting at home. I'm literally under. We found out today we're literally under a
shelter-in-place
home. Yeah. I mean, it's not anymore like you should isolate. It's mandatory now, kind of thing. So it's an interesting time. We might be on tomorrow. I can tell you with some pretty. For those still hanging out, I mean, pass the word. I know we've talked to Hack about doing one of these, and so we'll love to have him on. Those of you that know Hack, Chris Del Porto, that we have had on a bunch of times, he's going to come and spend an hour with us. Dave Sestito, that does DLS effects. Did you see that interview, Brian? He's going to be.
Say that again.
Dave Sestito, that does DLS effects.
Oh wow! Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's going to be on probably next week. There's a guy, a guitar pick manufacturer that I reached out to because their ad has been coming up on my Facebook like every third thing. So I reached out and said, why don't you send some picks and come on? And so hopefully that's going to happen. He agreed. He said he wants to. So I'm going to go with hopefully that will happen. And we just found out earlier in this chat, David Barber was hanging out. And I mean, that's going to be a conversation because, like, you know, we said yesterday, he's intense. We love him. And man, it's such a fountain of knowledge. So,
and we're going to try to get Warren Haynes on sometime, but he's busy. So
you say that
try.
But I told Pat, I said, I might just text him because he doesn't have anything to do either.
They're all off tour, man.
You know, that's a good point. If he does, I got to come back on. You got to let me know.
There's room for one more square on the screen, so we'll just slide you over.
Jonesy, the guy, Wayne Sharp that played keyboard on the Michael Burks thing. I have had online conversations with him once or twice, and I was thinking maybe I'd even ask him to come on because I'd love to hear some old stories about touring around with Michael Burks and the other people he's toured with. So, who knows? Who knows what those stories might be like?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, y'all are stepping in high cotton because y'all are getting some pretty big time people come on. You know,
right?
Well,
I mean, I'm not. I lowered your standards, but I'm talking about you had Josh Scott.
But here's the thing,
you had Josh Scott.
You know, at the end of the day, you're no different than Josh Scott. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, and that's the way we've kind of approached it. Like, yeah, Josh Scott has almost 200,000 followers on YouTube, and he has a pedal company. But you know, he gets up every day and puts his pants on hopefully the same way we do. And you know,
well, he doesn't look as good in his jeans as I do, though.
There you go.
Well, you know,
he doesn't have a skull can circle in the back.
No, I don't like that. I smoke. Isn't that really? I told you I'm clean living's what's kept me alive.
Yeah, cigarettes and Mountain Dew. There's your Southern.
All right, this is awesome, Brian.
This is fantastic.
We're so happy you did this. Yeah. That this worked out. We're so happy that you weren't crazy.
Well, now that's still to be determined.
You're crazy at our level, which we love. So
the difference between insane and crazy is a legal term. If you can keep that straight, you'll go far.
There you go. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, everybody that was in the chat, we really appreciate the people that there's still people watching on YouTube. There's people out there on YouTube watching, so we appreciate that.
Go check out Brian's channel. He's subscribed.
Are we fixing to leave now?
We are.
Yeah,
we're fixing to. We're about to.
Are we fixing to leave here in a minute?
We are.
And so with that, I'm fixing to pass it over to Pat.
That's right. I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you're fixing to go buy some gear. Hashtag government check.
See y'all later.
See ya.